rally to exercise his constitutional right to free speech, so he would not have to use his right to bear arms. The event remained peaceful, and police made no arrests despite protesters' outright violations of the governor's orders. By then, 35 Mainers had died of the virus, and 875 had tested positive out of a population of 1.34 million. Nearly 5 weeks had passed since Maine had confirmed its first case of COVID-19. A naval reservist in her 50s had tested positive after returning from duty in Italy. And 3 days later, on March 15th, Governor Mills had declared a civil state of emergency. That designation had brought the state to highest alert and allowed the governor to deploy all available state resources and take every action she reasonably deems necessary to protect her constituents. She had since drawn both scorn and praise for her use of dozens of executive orders to manage the crisis, including the stay-at-home order that barred most public interaction. She'd used other orders to deal quickly with issues that arose because of the restrictions, ranging from expiring driver's licenses and contact lens prescriptions to unlawful evictions. The owners of 2 gun stores were among the first to object to business closures, as the governor noted in her journal on the last weekend in March. They had complained that I'd shut them down so people can't buy guns, she wrote on Saturday. At 9:45 that night, some state lawmakers joined the outcry. The Senate Republican leaders send me a letter demanding that I stop closing gun stores. Jesus, of course, it's an election year. How could I possibly forget that? Earlier in the day, the Trump administration had added gun sellers to its guidance on the essential critical infrastructure workforce, allowing their stores to open after pressure from gun rights advocates. The Mills administration was compelled to do the same in Maine. Pawn shops and auto dealers were next to criticize the governor's orders. Sheesh, who knew all these folks were so essential, she wrote. In Italy, meanwhile, 10,000 people have died. Surreal. Governor Mills kept her journal on a laptop and added to it almost daily, a habit instilled by her father when she was a child. He prioritized integrity and character building, she explained. When I was 5 years old, I had a newspaper route, and at night I kept a journal, even though I couldn't write very well. As governor, she still made her entries at night, after dinner and several more hours of work. She rarely went to sleep before midnight, especially during the pandemic. Shortly after the gun store controversy, she wrote that she'd spent pretty much all day on drafting a new executive order about travel. She was trying so hard in each of these actions to find that careful balance between certain constitutional rights and the exigent need to keep people apart and in virtual solitude, isolation. She compared the crisis to a hurricane with no wind, a flood with no water, lamenting that there was no playbook for a pandemic, no virus crisis for dummies instruction manual. Her administration was working this day by day, hour by hour, in the very best way we know how, and with the best scientific, medical information and wise counsel available. A former state senator reinforced that dynamic publicly and eloquently in a Maine newspaper opinion column later that month. Jill Goldthwait, who was also a retired nurse, noted that the governor's resources for managing the pandemic were not insignificant, including her cabinet, the nation's other governors, and federal authorities. There were also experts in Maine's academic and healthcare communities who were quick to answer the call. Ultimately, though, it was the governor's unenviable job to sift through the mountain of information and opinion and choose a course for her own state. On top of all that, she's expected to offer human warmth, solace, encouragement, and hope. By comparison, Jill admonished readers, it was easy to second-guess the decisions being made that have separated us from friends, family, and work, and devastated the economy. In closing, she invoked some lyrics from the song Girl on Fire by Alicia Keys, noting that a rendition of it was part of the governor's inauguration ceremony in January 2019. She got both feet on the ground and she's burning it down. She got her head in the clouds and she's not backing down. Jill added that Governor Mills was